Welcome to our June Chamber of Commerce luncheon. And we, of course, have these almost every month, and you'll hear a little more about the next one that's coming up. But what I wanted to do, first of all, is introduce the president of our board of directors, Deb Fisher, who will make a couple of remarks. Deb? Thank you.
I just want to thank you also for coming today, and we've got a lot of information for you. I think it'll be quite interesting. Please mark your calendars for next month's meeting as well. It is Wednesday, July 8th, so it's the week of the 4th of July. But it's the annual luncheon with the mayors, and that is always really quite interesting. We've got the mayor of Lake Forest and the village manager for Lake Bluff. Typically, we hold that out at the Deer Path, or we hold that at the Deer Path Inn, which of course is under reconstruction right now. So the Lake Forest Graduate School of Management has graciously allowed us to host the meeting there. It'll be catered, and we're really appreciative of that because the club gets even busier as we get into July. So please mark your calendars, plan to join us, and if you have any friends and associates out at Conway, this would be a marvelous time to invite them to come. It'll be right in their backyard. That would be great, and also just invite friends, neighbors, associates that you work with who would like to know more about what's going on in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, because this is their big chance each year to hear it firsthand. Next, if you'd like to see a totally different look of the chamber, come out on Friday morning to the atrium on Deer Path, and where the office is, where the chamber office is. It's in the atrium right outside the office. It is the before work networking sessions that have developed. They're twice a month, and we have one this Friday. They start at 7:30, and it's just usually a totally different group of people as well, because people sometimes who can come before work are different than people who can come during the day for lunch. So come, it's interesting. You get to say a short blurb about your company, but it's great networking. You get coffee and really interesting conversation. So hope you can join us there. And then also like us on Facebook. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deb. Talking about Facebook, I want to tell you all, the question has come up, how many people are with us on Facebook? We have almost 3,500 likes on the Chamber's Facebook page. And we have around 750 Twitter followers. So I would tell you, if you have news, you let us know, because what we will do is we will share it. We're following you. In fact, Stephanie of our staff went through our entire membership roster to see if we have liked all of you, and we made sure that we have, but we would tell you, use us. That's what we're here for. We're here for you. It's all about promoting you. So we want to see more information coming from you, and we're happy to tweet things out for you. I also wanted to mention that given the fact that unfortunately 2 of our panelists today have had emergencies this morning, so both of them send their apologies. I do have information from Tim. Dave will share some information from Adrienne. But I wanted to tell you that what we're going to do is, at the Chamber, we're going to compile the information that you hear today. We're going to compile all the contact information and the deadlines for you, so that what we can do is have that available to you. So what I would like to do is now introduce our guests. Every few years, the Chamber engages in just this kind of activity in order for us all to see the faces behind the bylines, and also for us to know who it is and how it is we get our news and events out to the media. And also for them, they're the ones who are looking for the stories. So this is just one of those wonderful circles of connection, and we're happy to be the facilitator in this case. What I would like to do now is I'm going to go through and introduce our panelists, and I will also introduce the 2 who are not able to be with us today, and that way you'll know who we are speaking with and hearing from. David Sweet will be our first presenter. David runs North Shore Weekend, a publication that he helped launch in 2012. He directs the coverage, manages staff, edits stories, and writes pieces for the 80,000 circulation newspaper, whose design, story mix, and pages rich with color offer a magazine feel on newsprint. Before that, David ran 4 Pioneer Press newspapers and their websites for Sun Times Media, and that included the Lake Forester. David has served as a columnist for the Wall Street Journal's online edition, NBCSports.com, and Sports Business Journal. He authored the book Lamar Hunt, The Gentle Giant Who Revolutionized Professional Sports in 2010. I didn't know that, Dave. He lives in Lake Forest with his wife Tricia and 3 children. Adrienne Fawcett, who unfortunately can't be with us today, is editor-in-chief of Daily North Shore, a local news website covering the northern suburbs of Chicago. She was the founder and editor of GazeboNews.com, a local news site in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, which JWC Media purchased in August of 2014. At that time, Adrienne went to work for JWC Media to help create and launch DailyNorthShore.com, which launched on Thanksgiving 2014. Prior to the advent of the internet, she worked in print media, including as features editor of Advertising Age. She is involved in many organizations, including the Lake Forest Historical Society, the Lake Bluff Farmers Market, and the Church of Holy Spirit's governing body, and she's a board member of the Media School at Indiana University. Nicki Koetting, who is with us today, is the editor of the Lake Forest Leader, a weekly newspaper covering Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. Before launching the Leader in February 2015, Nicki was the assistant editor for 22nd Century Media's Highland Park Landmark newspaper, which launched in February 2014. Originally from Houston, Texas, Nicki came to Chicago area to attend Northwestern. She graduated from NU with a bachelor's degree in journalism. She has previously written for the Chicago Bureau, Men's Health Magazine, Catalyst Chicago Magazine, and Advocate Magazine in Dallas. Jenny Fisher, who is also with us from Pioneer Press, is the news editor for the Chicago Tribune's Pioneer Press, handling the Lake Forest, Highland Park, Deerfield, Libertyville, Mundelein, and Vernon Hills editions. Wow. She welcomes story pitches and suggestions via email at jfisher@pioneerlocal.com. Before she joined Pioneer Press, Jenny spent 4 years covering the North Shore for Patch.com. She has an undergraduate degree from the University of Chicago and a master's degree from Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism. Jenny lives in Chicago with her husband and a basset hound. Anne-Marie Scheidler, who is joining us to be able to answer questions about Forest and Bluff and the other magazines published by JWC, but Dave will be doing the presentation today. Anne-Marie Scheidler is JWC Media's managing editor for all the publishing company's magazine titles, including Forest and Bluff, Sheridan Road, Hinsdale Living, Barrington's Country, and the new Evanston magazine. She has played a number of roles since joining the company nearly 10 years ago. She lives in Lake Forest with her husband and 5 children. Tim Moran, who again couldn't join us today, of Patch.com, is a journalist with 6 years of professional experience who came to Patch in December 2014 to cover the North Shore of Chicago. After earning a degree in mass communications from St. Xavier University in Chicago, he began his professional career in journalism in 2008 as the sports editor for the Clinton Journal, a semi-weekly newspaper in Central Illinois. And after 2.5 years at that post, moved on to become a news reporter and later an editor for Paxton Media and their 3 newspapers in Northwest Indiana and Southwest Michigan. For the majority of that time, he worked for the News Dispatch, a daily newspaper in Michigan City, Indiana. Prior to his start at Patch, he spent 1.5 years as the contributing editor for Ideas in Motion Media, a hyperlocal web organization with 4 local sites that only cover good news. What I would like to do now is just acknowledge all of our panelists, and then they will be coming up one after another. And we'll start with Dave Sweet. So let's acknowledge them all for coming. Thank you. Dave?
Well, thank you for inviting us all, Joanna. And thank you to everyone here for your support of the Chamber, whether it's by attending luncheons or volunteering or simply by paying your dues. All of it helps. And it's interesting, 3 years ago, almost to the day, is the last time I spoke to a Chamber luncheon. And it's amazing how much has changed since then in the local news media. Back then, I worked for Pioneer Press, and the North Shore Weekend at that point didn't even exist. It was, just a figment of our imagination at that point. Back then, Adrienne Fawcett, again, who unfortunately can't be here today, she was the editor of Gazebo News, and she was a competitor of mine. Today, I sit right next to her in the office as she runs the new and popular dailynorthshore.com site. Back then, again, Jim Powers was the editor of Patch. Since then, Patch has been sold by AOL to another company. Since then, Pioneer Press has been sold by Sun Times Media to the Tribune. The Lake Forest Leader launched since then. During the 2012 talk, I mentioned it was sort of a golden age of journalism for residents because they had so many choices, but there are even more choices today, which makes it even better for residents who are interested in news. Also, beyond media, I mean, there have been so many changes in town. You go down the street here, and there's a whole huge new building being constructed for Lake Forest Hospital. Gorton Community Center has a new theater. The Lake Forest Lake Bluff Historical Society has found a new building after a long search, and Forest Park has been transformed, so the changes aren't only in the media. But let's step back again to 2012. That's when the North Shore Weekend launched, and a lot of people thought it was pretty crazy to launch a print publication in the digital age. I mean, many were going under, and launching a new one seemed a little absurd. But we filled a need that few knew existed, and that was a weekly publication on the North Shore, and the only one at that point, and in fact, we're still the only one. We cover towns from Lake Bluff to Evanston, as well as Glenview and Northbrook. And advertisers are really our sole source of revenue because we're a free subscription mailed out to about 80,000 houses and businesses each week. So we're very fortunate to have many advertisers, and they found the affluent, engaged readers we have are great to reach. So exactly what is the North Shore Weekend and what separates us from other publications? We're a newspaper designed for readers on the weekend, on Saturdays and Sundays, and we sort of fancy ourselves similar to the Wall Street Journal on the weekends, the Financial Times on the weekends, which have very interesting sections that are lifestyle oriented. We focus heavily on profiles and interesting features. And we also offer news coverage, and we have big picture news stories as well. For instance, to give you an example, what will be the effect of medical marijuana dispensaries on the North Shore, those types of topics. We love interviewing creative types, authors and artists and architects. Those type of people are often the subject of our profiles. We featured many well-known people in the area, baseball owner Bill Bartholomew and Chicago Zoological Society CEO Stuart Strahl come to mind. WTT host Jeffrey Bear as well, who is a very interesting guy. I've always felt there are many people of such high achievement on the North Shore whose stories haven't been told, so it's a joy to interview these people and let their story get out there. We offer color on every page, which is pretty rare in the newspaper industry. It's costly, but it's worth it. We have outstanding photography. Our action shots in the sports pages by Joel Lerner are fantastic. He also does a great job with portraits of people for our profiles. The drawings of nationally renowned illustrator Barry Blitt, who's done a lot of New Yorker covers, grace our pages. And we also have New Yorker cartoons. Our writing is creative, and in fact, we just won a Peter Lisagor Award, which is the top honor in Chicago journalism. Our sports writer, Bill McLean, won it for a fantastic story he crafted. And I urge you to follow us. We have a Twitter feed, which is North Shore WKND, because Twitter won't allow the full North Shore Weekend. It's too many characters. So North Shore WKND. And we also have a Facebook page where you can follow us as well. If you have any story ideas, feel free to email me, david@northshoreweekend.com. And if you have any interest in advertising, we always welcome advertisers, as you might guess. And you can contact MJ Cadden, who's right over here. And she is at mj@jwcmedia.com. And now I just wanted to share with you some notes Adrienne Fawcett sent me this morning. As you know, she couldn't make it today, unfortunately, but this is what she wanted you to know about dailynorthshore.com. JWC Media purchased Gazebo News last summer and hired Adrienne Fawcett to help launch a new website called Daily North Shore. It's a companion brand to the North Shore Weekend. The North Shore Weekend writes more features. Daily North Shore is more involved with news coverage. We share content on both platforms to ensure our stories get disseminated to as many people as possible. Daily North Shore provides 3 ways for its readers to contribute content. You can send a news form for news tips, and you can send information-based press releases. You can submit letters to the editor to the opinion section, and you can submit event forms for the robust North Shore calendar. And these forms are all easy to figure out when you go to the navigation bar at dailynorthshore.com. JWC Media also has a number of magazines. Most of you are familiar with Forest and Bluff, which has been around for almost 15 years. Sheridan Road is one you may also receive. We also have Hinsdale Living, Country, which covers the Barrington area, and a new one in Evanston, simply called Evanston Magazine. And these are all run by Anne-Marie Scheidler, who has one magazine, 5 magazines for each child, I guess is how it works out. So, and anyway, that's about it for me. Again, thank you for inviting me, Joanna, and I look forward to assessing the media terrain again in about 2018. So.
Thank you, Dave. Nicki?
Hi, I'm Nicki Koetting, and I'm the editor of the Lake Forest Leader newspaper, which is very new. We just launched in February 2015. I'm actually putting together the 18th issue right now, which fittingly comes out on June 18th. And we send the paper. The Leader comes out to every home and business in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff for free every Thursday, although some people get it on Wednesdays. We offer 40 to 50 stories in every single issue every week, covering everything from hard news. We have 3 sections in our paper. So we have news, life and arts, and sports. So we cover everything from city council and village board meetings to features and profiles on Lake Forest and Lake Bluff residents and businesses, and high school sports. So we pretty much cover anything and everything going on in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, and I've been really excited to be doing this for the past 18 issues. We also have a website, lakeforestleader.com, where you can also check out our news, and everything in our paper is also on our website. And there are many ways that you can get involved in the Leader. We love when people submit stuff to us. The Chamber has been really great at telling us when there are events going on and sending us press releases and everything. So if you want to, you can send me pretty much anything and everything from community events to story ideas. I love story ideas. Letters to the editor, items for the community calendar. We have a faith brief section, so things from the faith community. You can send them all to me, Nicki at lakeforestleader.com. That's Nicki at lakeforestleader.com. And if you have there's just a lot of ways that you can be involved in the paper. And if you submit something to me and it involves Lake Forest or Lake Bluff, then it will probably go in the paper. Because we work a week in advance, I ask you to please submit things a week ahead of the publication date, just so we can make sure that it gets in. So if you want to submit something for our June 18th issue, be sure to do that by tomorrow, which would be great. And yeah, I've had a really great time. So learning anything and everything about Lake Forest and Lake Bluff so far, and I'm still learning about you guys. And I'm really, really excited to be here and really love that our publication is in town. It seems to be doing well so far. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions about advertising, Teresa Lippert is right over there, and she can answer any questions that you have. So thank you so much.
And again, everyone, if you can't write fast enough, we're going to have that contact sheet available. So just email us at info@LFLB Chamber. Jenny?
So thank you for having me here today. As Joanna said, I am with Pioneer Press, and I handle the Lake Forester and 5 other North Shore editions. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the changes we've had recently at Pioneer Press, how you can use our website, and also just some suggestions on pitching me. So as you may have heard, the Sun-Times, as David already told you, the Sun-Times sold Pioneer Press to the Chicago Tribune last fall. That included all of the Pioneer Press editions and the other suburban dailies like the Lake County News Sun, which you may be familiar with, that the Sun-Times owned. I'm really excited about what this means for us. It's a fantastic combination. The Chicago Tribune has great resources that we can now leverage with our publications. It's not that they're turning into mini Tribunes, they're just making us stronger, and it's been really exciting so far. I think, I've only been working with the Tribune now 6 months, but I feel like they're really behind us and they want to make us stronger and they support what we're doing. So far it's been great. So in terms of the transition, practically speaking, we moved all of our operations from the Sun-Times to Chicago Tribune platforms over the last several months. That included our websites, which I'll talk more about later, but also our print editions. The Pioneer Press papers, including the Lake Forester, are now printed at the Chicago Tribune's printing plant downtown, which actually happens to be where I work. So I have gotten to see the Lake Forester roll off the presses, which is pretty cool. The online component of that is Pioneer Press is now housed on the Chicago Tribune website. So if you go to chicagotribune.com, you can actually find the Lake Forester website there. So you may have bookmarked lakeforest.suntimes.com at one point. I'm sure you all bookmarked it. But that link now redirects to our chicagotribune.com site, which I'm going to show you. So if you go to the chicagotribune.website, they actually have a side rail where you can see all of our publications, and the Lake Forester is there. I assign the stories for the Lake Forester. The reporter who I work with is Mark Lawton. And Mark Lawton is a veteran Pioneer Press reporter. He's covered stuff for us for several years, and recently has shifted north to Lake Forest. So he's going out and meeting you guys. I'm sure you'll run into him at some point. He's fantastic. So I look forward to him getting to know everyone. You are welcome to pitch me or Mark Lawton with stories. That's my email address right there, and that's his email address. Like I said, I assign the stories for the Lake Forester, so things I'm looking for are stories with a good news peg. So if you want to pitch me a business story, we love when there's, say you're celebrating an anniversary, like 40 years, you're launching something really new and special to your business, you're bringing a new chef to your restaurant, you're partnering with a local community organization to do something cool at a community event. That's what we're looking for. And I'd say deadline-wise, 2 weeks is pretty good. Certainly, the earlier you let us know, the better. That's fantastic if you can let us know earlier. But 2 weeks is good. Our paper goes to press on a Tuesday, so our paper went to press yesterday for tomorrow's edition. Probably Monday before the Thursday edition is going to be the latest we could ever get anything in, but certainly the earlier you let us know, the better. I would encourage you to reach out to me and Mark, and you can also use the community.chicagotribune.com website. That's actually the platform that Tribocal used, which many of you may be familiar with, community.chicagotribune.com. It's free to sign up. You just create a username and password, and then you can submit photos, articles, events. You should get an email back from our web staff in 3 to 5 days, if not sooner, with a link to whatever you've posted, and that'll go on the chicagotribune.com website on the Lake Forester section, and it's featured very prominently on our homepage, and our readers find all your stuff there too. So, thanks.
Thank you, Jenny. So on behalf of Tim Moran and Patch.com, I'm going to give you a little synopsis of what his presentation was going to share with you. An introduction of Patch. It's a national network of local, online-only news sites. There are 900 Patch sites nationally, with more than 50 in the Chicago area and 9 on the North Shore, including Lake Forest, Lake Bluff. The new Patch business model includes one editor for every 7 to 15 sites. So it is only Tim that's working on the editorial sides of everything on the North Shore currently. Deadlines. He said he doesn't have hard deadlines for user-submitted content since they are online only. Daily newsletters go out at 6 a.m. to those who are on their list, with a deadline of noon the previous day for inclusion in the next day's newsletter. For larger story ideas, he said to contact Tim at least 2 weeks before when you'd like to see the story published. Content. They prefer submitted stories that are local business news, openings, feature stories and ideas, business anniversaries, event announcements. Straightforward information is preferred. There's a link that directs the reader on how to set up a Patch account and post to the site, and I've got the link that we'll share with you again in that communication. The event calendar. Patch is currently promoting a new event calendar where the community contributes 100% of the posts and as many as are desired. If it's local, the event is going to be approved. The person submitting does not need an account to submit the event, and the calendar of events is also included in the newsletter every day. Stories. Tim added that he's always looking for good story ideas and news tips, and he's observed that Lake Forest embraces good news more than any North Shore communities, and he'd like to see that continue. That's good news for us too, because I know quite a few people in the room here have some great stories about who they are and what they are. So that's the kind of thing that really all of our media sources are looking for. And we're so grateful to that, because we need to get to the people that make us successful. So we thank you for that very much. Can we have another round of applause for our panel? And now, if we could throw it open to Q&A. Anybody have a question? Yes? Will Trib Local and Lake Forester be combined?
We are combining resources, yes. So in terms of how that's happening longer term, I don't know exactly, but they are completely supportive of Pioneer Press and what we've got going. And in the Trib Local, you'll see in your Chicago Tribune each week, they're using Pioneer Press stories and we're using Trib Local stories and vice versa. And obviously, we are not sending the same person to the same event. So right now, we have the two separate print products. Where that will eventually wind up, you know, at some point, there may not be a Trib Local coming with your Chicago Tribune, but I know we're combining our resources right now.
Other questions? I have one for Anne Marie. Deadlines, I know, because you thought you weren't going to say anything, right? Deadlines for Forest and Bluff. What do people need to know about submission?
Ours are a little bit further out. We tend to work 6 to 8 weeks out on our bigger pieces, but a lot of times if you have something a little bit more newsy, we can a month out, like 4 weeks.
And since I've got Anne Marie standing, so I know that several of you are also interested in Sheridan Road, and I believe Forest and Bluff is published 12 times a year, is that correct? So every month. Sheridan Road is not, though, is that correct? And what is the deadline?
Right. Sheridan Road tends to be on a similar 6 to 8 week production cycle. We're adding an issue. We have an August issue, which is new for us. Typically we have summer, which covers 3 months, but this year we have added an August because of the demand for it. So I think, MJ, are we 10 now? 10. So now we're 10 issues for Sheridan Road.
Terrific. And what I wanted to do, because I know we do have some ad sales people. MJ is here from JWC. Karen is here from Pioneer Press. Teresa is, is there, if the ad people could please stand up and the people that you need to know. So we have MJ Cadden with JWC Media. We have Karen Ernst with Pioneer Press. And Chicago Tribune, excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. And Teresa Lippert, who's with, is it 22nd Century Media? Okay, and Lake Forest Leader. So know these faces because they're the ones who are going to help you with advertising.
I have a question to ask. What do you define as your coverage area? For example, I'm here today with an executive director of a theater in Waukegan that has a primarily North Shore audience, also, of course, grabbing from the Waukegan, Gurnee area and all the way up to the Wisconsin border. So what do you define as your sort of coverage areas?
So the Lake Forester primarily focuses on Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. That said, you know, if someone lives in one of our towns and they're doing something in another town, we'd certainly consider that. Since we are part of the Chicago Tribune and the whole suburban operation they have, we work closely with the News Sun. And so we'll often run stories from the News Sun, so more broader Lake County regional-wide stories. And so that's certainly part of our coverage area, not all of it, but part of it.
Lake Forest, the Lake Forest Leader is hyperlocal, which means that we only cover Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. But 22nd Century Media has other newspapers as well in the North Shore. We have 6 other ones in Highland Park, Glenview, Northbrook, Winnetka, Wilmette, and Glencoe. And so if you have something from there, I can direct you to the editors of those publications. But if it only concerns, if it only concerns Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, the Lake Forest Leader only covers Lake Forest and Lake Bluff.
Ours is very similar as well, Lake Forest and Bluff. If there's a connection to the theater outside, if we have a resident who's very involved or acting or somehow related to it, we will certainly cover it. But again, we too tend to be very hyper-local. That's what makes us sing, is what I think. Sheridan Road, though, are all communities that touch the lake, so from Lake Bluff to Wilmette. So if you can see the water, that's who we're reaching.
That's a great way to put it. If we can see the water as well, we'll probably cover it from Lake Bluff to Evanston. Also, Glenview and Northbrook, a little harder to see the water there, but we cover those areas. We will cover Waukegan when people like Melanie and Bob work on a theater up there. When local residents do things in other areas, that's right up our alley too.
Question. Any other questions? If not, we'd like to thank our panelists once more and suggest to you all they're willing to stay for a couple of minutes unless there's a breaking story. So come up and ask your questions. Thank you all.